Hello and welcome to this playthrough of Factorio, where I am building a megabase on Earth. I am using a mod, Cities of Earth, focusing on the Old World Hemisphere. My goal is to reach 10,000 science per minute with a rail-based design. The resources are set to maximum size and density, and biters and pollution are turned off. The mod list is shown in the description, as well as a link to my Twitch channel, High Speed. Please come visit me there. Questions and comments are welcome. Thank you for watching. Hello, and let's continue. Hi, Mango. Hi, Smokin'. So, excuse me, continues. Because I'm going to hard code the values that they're going to look at in order to save UPS, then these can be using the signal 1s and signal 2s, which I will use to say summon 1 train or summon 2 trains. I'm not 100% happy with how this is going in terms of decreasing the number of accommodators. Smokin' wants his name on a train. Smokin', we're going to start migrating you to copper trains, bro. Because copper trains are the future. Trust me. Trust me, copper trains are your future. So we're going to find you a copper train. And we're going to put you there. Oh, I'm going to move your name. You're not losing any trains. It's just that as I decommission a train that has your name on it, I'm going to move it over to a copper train, which reminds me, I have one I need to move already. So we'll just do that here. This was 229, 229, 229. There we go. Mango, I plan to write a UI that lets me have a button. I gotta learn how to put buttons down here, because I couldn't figure out how to get the buttons to go from the top left into this docking pad, but I know there's a way to do it because somebody wrote a mod that does it, but it's really complex for me. But anyhow, I want a button here that I click on that shows me all of the entities that have stickers on them, and then allows me to go to them so that I can interact with them, or, you know, maybe update them, but I don't think so. but have it, you know, different tabs, all locomotives, wagons, you know, that sort of stuff. Did you fix that, Pax? Did you get that all fixed up? Thank you. As I recall, I was sending you up here because you now have resource issues, and I need you to reload. As far as I go, I am missing 21 of these, so... and some lamps. So for loading, I don't see any value in having these, hello again. So for loaders, I don't see any value in having these not connected because I'm still trying to save myself math, right? And on a double stack 4K on a double stack, 8,000 is a full wagon. And if we were to play this out, if I were to build the whole, you know, loader here, if I had room, if I were to build this entire loader, let's say I actually did that here for the heck of it, just for the smell of it. We need to get rid of the rail though. Right? So that's what this would look like. Apologies that it's kind of dark, but so this is what a full loader would look like if it were hard-coded to green circuits. If I look at this and I go, that's 18 combinators, 18 live combinators. The old one, which was a belt loader like this, that is 18 combinators plus 2 arithmetic combinators plus 2. So I'm not really saving a combinator here. But if I don't do it this way, if I don't have that red wire everywhere, and I'm adding up all of these, this is the loader. Then what's going to happen is a train's going to come in, and I think I already said this yesterday, but I was kind of foggy. A train could come in and one of these could be broken. Let's say wagon number 5 right here has got a flaw in it. Train comes in because let's say I just set it to the total, right? This is a 200 stack. Each wagon is going to hold 4,000 or 8,000. So 8,000 times 8, whatever the hell that is, 64,000. Is that what these things carry? Or I thought it was 32,000. What does a green circuit train carry? Um, 64,000 circuits on that bitch. All right, so let's say that this thing, let's say I just total all these up and I just have one combinator here that says, if this is greater than or equal to 64,000, then call a train. And it gets here, and this wagon, there's something wrong in this one's build assembler. So the train can't leave when it's full. I don't think trains can have a setting that says any. Item count, I don't think any is valid here. It wants a specific item, so I would have to set that train to that item, which probably isn't all that terrible. So that makes things a little more challenging because you've got to do more micromanagement. Of course, blueprints would help with that. But what I would do is I would say full cargo or let's say in this case plate even if it's greater than 0, that tells me that it's in some way, shape, or working. But that's not what I want. I would have to AND these. So if it gets full, or the cargo is greater than 0, and it's inactive. See, that's very safe. Right? This prevents me from having a train that's empty running back and forth. And that's what I'm concerned about with all these combinators. Right? 5 seconds is fine. If it's not loading, it's not loading, right? So let's take a look at this purple science, right? So this purple science is loading, but if this is broken somehow, right? Let's say this belt was twisted, right? And it was pointing the wrong way, so this wagon didn't load. Right? So this train is sitting here on a full cargo request. Now, if this had been broken, or if it was, so let's set up the scenario, ignore all that's here, and let's say that I just have one combinator, two combinators down here that are counting totals. Instead of using this flag system, which I'm using here, that says I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. Okay, if everybody's ready, then we'll call a train. And so if each of these wagons has or if each of these set of chests has enough to load their wagon, they say, raise their hand, they set a flag of 1. If this combinator counts that there's a flag of 1 across all wagons, then it requests the train because the train's going to come in, fill up, and leave. Now, if I go to a simpler method, if I don't use the flag design, and I go to a simpler method that says, if this train has, let's see, you've got 64,000 and you see you're at 200 stack. So if these chests were all wired together, or even if these chests weren't wired together, if I just looked at this first chest, and this chest has enough to load, and I've got 6 of these, so it's 1,300 is actually what it is. It's 13 33 or something like that. Calculator. The wagon itself can hold 8,000 in it. And I've got 6 chests that can load it. So this combinator would be set to, if it's greater than 1,333, then I'm extrapolating that if this chest has 1,300, yet Mango, what I'm trying to do is prevent a ghost train. If I have a misconfiguration or a resource that runs out, a ghost train is a train that's going to run even though it's empty in both directions. Because if I don't have a hard stop like this on the full or a hard stop on the next request, then the train, if this whole thing's broken or part of it's broken, the train will just go back and forth even though it's empty. That's correct, JMO. That's what I'm considering. It's how far do I want to go in reducing my circuit combinator. But the other thing you got to consider, and this is something I think I'm not aligning with what everybody else is telling me, so I'm having a bit of a challenge with it. But circuit networks are causing me, what this is essentially, when you know, let's just call this 5, 1 is high. So of my game updates, my circuit networks are costing me 5. Okay, so remember these numbers: game update 18 or game update 17, circuits 5, which above 1 is supposedly really high. So this number is at 5 of a goal of less than 2. So if I change that from time usage to entity usage. Hi, an entire sleeve. Yes, UPS doctor. 5 out of the precious, 16 limit. Is 16 the actual limit? I don't know what the actual limit is. But when I look at the actual items, I mean, my inserters right now aren't doing much. But when this build is going, it's 7. Right? Did that say 20? That said 20. That's jumping up to 20 for my radar. Wow. Oh well. That was not the button I wanted to hit. I keep hitting the wrong... That's what I wanted to see. So at this point, reducing game update or network update is what I'm looking at. An entire sleeve passive radar mod. I need to look that up. Passive radar. You actually wrote it. Stock radar set does not perform any long range scanning. It only reveals the map within its shortest range. Default is 3. Yeah, that's cool. Except for I use a different radar. I don't use default radar. I use a mod called long range radar. So I probably have to fork what you've done in order to be able to support this long range radar. There it is. Long range radar costs 4 times as much to build and takes 4 times as much power. Each radar consumes a megawatt, but it has a range setting in the mod settings. Okay, I am definitely going to look at that then. Yeah, I don't care about power at this time, although it is a significant power difference. Although in this case, like you said, I'm not using the radar for... you're paying for the electrical too. Yeah, the electrical's actually a big draw against putting down 1 billion radars, because until I got to beacons, my power usage for radar, if you look, was quite high. So we get rid of beacons, and we see that my number 3 user, total power used, number 4, I have 325 of these radars down. I think it is sizable. Yeah, Monkey tested nuclear, and it's such a tiny difference between nuclear and solar. I'm using these. Fennec designed me this really wonderful 14 reactor setup that unfortunately isn't buffered, but I have quite a bit of leftover uranium-238 that I'm not quite worried about. That I'm gradually decommissioning all these small 500 megawatt power plants and replacing them if I need to with these. But I mean, I'm up to 86. My whole factory, when it's running, uses 72 gigawatts. So yeah, I'm gradually removing them. Again, if we go back to these things and we look at who's using what, let me change that back. Entity usage. Boilers and generators. So boilers and generators are taking up a bit, but I'm not concerned about that, really. But yeah, not having the scanning would probably be good for me. I like that idea. Thank you. So, yeah, like I said, each of these is half a gigawatt, and I can eliminate quite a few of them. I've got the headspace to build. Even now, if I don't build another 2 gigawatt factory or power, I can add in. I can remove 10 of them, 20 of them, because each one is half a gigawatt, and I can afford to lose. I went from 72, so I could bring this down to 80. So that would be pretty easy, and that's 12 of these. So I'm going to continue to do that, but mostly in places where I know I can afford to put this down where it will fit, you know. All right, so we're going to have a deconstruction planner that is not removing these 3 items. I'd really like it to not remove fish and trees, but adding all these trees in is a bit of a challenge. But well, what else have I got to do with my time? That way, I can easily decommission this and not have to deal with bullcrap. Yes, it is, Sleeve. I do my best. I don't mind landfilling inside, right? A river or a small lake, I'm fine with. But why go through the effort of playing on Earth if you're gonna landfill the Earth? Also, an entire sleeve. There is a redeem called Yo, and it's pretty cheap. And also, if you tag me, I hear a ding or a notification. So both of them are very welcome. So back to this design. It is... Okay, Sleep. I will look at that. I've got it open. I've got the source code open. Yeah, that works too. Listen to me. Oh, and I heard it. That was Avi Kaplan from Pentatonics at the time. So going back to this, something I want to avoid is a train that's just running back and forth empty. And it stems from when you're looking at resources. If I don't have a marker to tell me that this is empty, then this train could get here. If it doesn't have, if this thing calls, I'm trying to work through the mentality. If this thing calls it because it says, hey, I've got stuff, but it turns out that it doesn't have stuff, then the train gets here and it just sits here because it's never going to get full. And I don't know that that's a problem so much here. But here, it's like, okay, if this train just sits here forever because it's never full, because this thing's just a little bit off, then it stops working, and that's bad for me. But if I add the things that say full cargo and your science is greater than 0 or and inactivity, which is actually a lot of work, and I don't want to do that. Yeah, an entire sleeve. I do have a design philosophy that I am trying to follow, though, and it is kind of anti-UPS. I am trying to put as many things on rails, on trains as possible. So I'm even at the point where I do iron sticks, although I am reevaluating that, as I am also reevaluating copper cable, because as many people are cringing when they see that, but my philosophy was that everything would go on a train and get moved. I'm going for 10,000 science per minute. I got 400 trains. I have reached 10 and even 20,000 science, so I know this design works. But it gets congestion. Yeah, I love what I've done here, so I'm going to be putting these things on belts. I unload them. I'm not going for a maximum UPS efficient base. I'm going for one that has these design philosophies that is as good as I can get it reasonably, right? Without ruining what I enjoy about the game. I don't want to make it all about efficiency. There's a hell of a lot of beauty here and a lot of symmetry. After all, the goddess of symmetry must be appeased. So there's going to be belts, there's going to be unloaders, there's going to be things that are not UPS efficient. Within those parameters of saying I'm going to have this design model for my 12 beacon and this design model for my loaders and unloaders, what can I do? Because I don't think, no disrespect for the people who've got UPS efficient bases, I don't think those are appealing, and I don't find myself having any interest in working in a factory that does that. Yeah, I've considered the buffer chest issue, because it does eliminate half of the. I would keep buffer chests maybe. In the past I was using my trains as buffer chests. I would have to rethink how I do the factory, and basically I'd be doubling the number of trains. So then it becomes an issue of which one's more expensive, trains or inserters, right? And in my smaller factories, I use trains as buffers. Yeah, inserters, yeah. I misspeak quite a bit. The part that fell apart on this, where this factory was working and it would have satisfied 10K, possibly higher. It's just that I crammed too much stuff into here. This is just too much in one small area with one rail. I didn't think science had this much. Yeah, that's a good point, Sleeve. I didn't think science had this much traffic and this much volume to it. I designed these standalone rocket silos, and I'm very happy with how these work. And I even decreased their rail width from 4-lane to 2-lane because I don't need that many trains to satisfy this. Now, based on what you just said, that's interesting. I know that using these trains here, I know that this unloader, each wagon, has got 4 inserters unloading it. I know that it takes 4. It takes about 75 seconds to go from a full train to an empty train. It's 73 or something like that, using stacked filter inserters with, bonus of 12. So I know it takes about a minute, a little over a minute, to fully unload a train in one of my setups. And obviously it takes less than that to fully load a train. If I were to eliminate these buffer chests, well, that would change that math, but it wouldn't break anything. I've already got the stackers set up to handle that. What I'd essentially be saying is that I'm going to have a train that's dedicated to sitting here, which is something I could do. I have to think about that, Sleeve. That's a really, really tempting, thought-provoking design strategy. because what I've done is fully capable of handling that, of relatively easily going to that model. Yeah, I got to think about that. Make a note for myself. What about not having buffer chests on the unloaders or on the loaders? Well, one of the other people I've watched and who has watched me has suggested that we were looking at my other designs here. This is my 242. This is my base builder base. This factory builds other factories. That's what this does. He suggested that based on what he saw here, I had a setup here where I had two copper next to each other, and I've since redesigned it. But he said, have you considered, instead of having those buffer chests, have you considered just putting two trains next to each other and then having a wire that tells which one of them can unload? Have them both unload directly onto the belts like you do in here. I imagine these were both copper, or these were both copper. And I don't know what I did here. Imagine these were both copper. And the trains would alternate unloading onto it. So that you wouldn't even have to wait for another train to show up. You'd have the second train already there, ready to unload. Yeah, and that's not what he was suggesting. It's not what I'm considering. Is a simple thing that says, you know, a one combinator or one set of combinators to determine which one unloads. Yeah. It would require a different design layout here, and that's a future design consideration for what I would want to do. But again, I could do that. I've got the stacker space. It's not a framework change. It's more of an implementation change. But continuing where I am, I'm going to keep the buffer chests for now. And I've kind of talked myself into just simply saying till you're full. Just read the first chest, and if the first chest has, say, as was mentioned earlier, 1350 or 1500, because, all right, so a 200 stack is 1500. Oh, that's interesting, Sleeve. I didn't think about that, but that's probably true. So I can go 1300, 700, and then if it's a and then 350. Well, I don't know any way to do that because I am putting things on belts, so. So I've kind of talked myself into going with a different design here and saying, on the loaders, see, I just don't think these things are that expensive that I need to worry about that, though. But I guess they are. Bummer. So I'm going to make the assumption that if the first wagon, or if the first cargo, if the first container, the first chest, has 1400 in it, then the train can be called. And then ignore all the other ones. Yeah, because eventually the train does get loaded, but I was trying to optimize train loading. Oh, bugger off, game. So on a loader, it's the green one. I seem to forget that sometimes, but yeah. I'll just keep pressing buttons here. So if anything is greater than or equal to 1,400, not 14,000. And I'll put a 1. And if anything is greater than 2,800, I'll put a 2. And I'm going to have that one lamp that tells me that it is requesting a train. And it's going to be a whole lot easier for me to remember things if I just go with 1,500, 3,000. So that's loaders on the 2 stack. Unloaders. What I need to know is that if any of these fall off, then I need a new train. So I'm going to be pretending that this is the bellwether for all of them, although it's not true, and I am definitely going to use both of these because they are a partner. I don't even like this. I'm going to take the hit on this. Because I want to use numbers my brain can associate with. And what I'm saying is that if these chests can hold one wagon, can fill a wagon, then assume that all the chests can fill a wagon and call a train. On a stack size of 200, and I'm going to put this here because it helps my brain as well. It may not be permanent, but on a stack size of 200, then oh, you know what? I'll just do this. This has a stack size of 200. Now this is off. It's not going anywhere. It's only for visual effect. But if the stack size is 200, then the train can hold 8,000. So if there's 8,000 in that wagon, then call a train. And if there's 16,000, or not in that wagon, in those chests, then call a train. And if there's 16,000 in those chests, then call a second train. I'm fine with that. There is the possibility that it just screws itself up, and I have to be careful of that. But once the base is in steady state and things have been developed and placed, I shouldn't need to put those, ooh, what if, because it's a static world. And on the unloader side, I really only need to check these first two. But I'm going to keep with my theme and check all four. And what I'm saying is that if there's enough for a train to unload, then we're going to call for a train. Now, a copper train at a stack size of 100, if I had one nearby, copper and iron are the same thing, that has 4,000 in it. This chest can hold 4,000 each. So if there's 4,000 across all of these, then call a train. So if everything is less than 12,000, which this part bothers me, and I wish I had a different way to do this, then call a train. And if everything is less than 8,000, then call an additional train. And again, I'm still going to have a lamp. I really want my colors, though. I sound like an impetuous child. So, Sleeve, if you're still here, does putting a combinator on here and having a lamp connected to it really cost me that much? That's interesting, yeah. But I really love my visual indicators that a train is coming. I won't run all the way out there, but... Alright, so this is assuming that I'm going to have a train. So then as far as the programming goes, Thanks, Lee. Enjoy the snow. My sister got like almost a foot of snow last night up in Michigan, so I don't miss that. I love snow, but not slush. Ah, well, I'm from Michigan originally. I was born in Detroit. Now I live in nice North Carolina where it's 65 degrees here. JMO. Bring it, baby. So if this is a full cargo, it's going to sit here forever. Which I don't think is a problem. Because if you're not a full cargo on your loader, then I've broken something. And in this case, you're unloading until you're at 90 seconds. Or you have nothing to do. I think I'm going to get rid of this inactivity. So you're empty or time has passed. Because if you're not empty and 5 seconds of inactivity goes by, means the whole thing stalled. And eventually the 90 seconds will catch up. And I'm counting everything on 90 seconds anyway. So the 5 seconds doesn't really help me. It's exactly freezing. So warm. I think it's setups I'm going to have to deal with. I'm going to have to just go with this. I'm measuring all 4 chests in order to be able to get myself some simple numbers I can memorize. 12,000, 8,000, 8,000, 16,000. The 12,000 is the trick part, right? Is that if there's room to unload, well, it's 12,000. Which is the part I have to keep in memory. That mango is an experiment. I am considering, and I did some analysis yesterday. Apologies because you weren't here, but I looked at all of the unloaders I'm dealing with. So I went over here and I looked at all these unloaders. And I looked for the pattern. Where am I only got half a belt? Where has one of these two, right? Because this is a pair of belts. Where has one of these two failed me? And what I noticed is, now keep in mind I use an A, B, C, D, right? So here's the loader. And then this is train A, train B, train C, and train D. Resource A. And those align to what's being fed into these, right? And in an active situation, the inserters will pull from the closest belt. And so the result is that, like in this case, we'll get 1/2 of this belt is empty. And this decider combinator here is trying to keep these 4 unloading evenly so the wagon unloads all 4 of them when it shows up. Now, I looked at A, B, and C and D, and I found that A and C had the same behavioral pattern, and B and D had the same behavioral pattern. Across all of my multi-level unloaders, I saw a consistency, again, where it was in use, that if I just simply put a belt piece here, it would solve my half-empty belt problem, and it would solve my unloading problem, and I wouldn't need this cider combinator, this arithmetic combinator, right? Problem. But in situations where it was going the other way, I think it was A and B used the same pattern. Now, if this had been here and that went straight, then I could do that, right? So I have to make an adjustment to how I lay those things out, and that's fine. But essentially, like, I don't understand why some of these just simply fill up, even though they well, this has actually got a flaw here. I'm missing a underbelt. Now I gotta check these two. Yep, missing it here too. So anyhow, in places where I looked, and I looked at the unloading behavior, and I saw that I was half unloaded, in those situations, I saw that if I made a small adjustment to make this run a little bit longer, like I do here, I could add that one thing, and it would fix my uneven loading problem. In theory, I don't know for certain because I haven't implemented it, but that's what I'm going to go with. All right, so 2 should be here. Come here, Pax. I need you. He's Mr. Fix-It. You need these. All right, number 2. You can come down here and fix this while I continue to work. You are correct, Mango. It is a consumption issue. And my way of addressing it is with this cheesy lane balancer. Because that's essentially what this is going to be doing, is lane balancing for me. And again, I'm not sure it works. But it might. Right? Because if you look at this one, if this were down where it should be, right? If this were extended one, and I put that thing there, all of this would dump on there, and this would be full on both sides. And then I'd get even unloading from both sides of this chest.